Right everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now, today I'm going to run through something a little bit unique for this time of year, and that's throwing maggots in the deeper water down the edge. We're here today at Boldings Pool Fishery near Bridgnorth, and I've been doing a bit of filming with Preston, but as we've finished all that now, I thought why not just show you this little brilliant tactic you can do, all little things I try and do, catch a few fish, some brilliant F1s we've had today. So just show you all the little things, how about it, so if you go to your venues where you go, you can see how you can try and get the most from throwing some maggots down the edge. So today we've been on the Willow Lake here at Boldings. Anyone hasn't been here, it's a very impressive fishery. It's lovely, middle of nowhere, look, beautiful surroundings, there's loads of fish in it as well. Like I said, we're on the Willow Pool, that looks a really nice peg on the point there, but say we're on the Willow Pool today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my little setup, what I'm looking for, and then we're going to have a little fish for 10 and 15 minutes. We'll go through that. So literally my setup is, I've got a short kit. I'm just using 9's hollow today because I've been catching fish from all sizes, from say 10 ounce up to 3-4 pound. There is some carp that's been coming in and out of the edge as well. Now you may notice here I've got a short piece of line between my pole tip, which is here, and my top of my pole float. That's just so it doesn't drift off. We're fishing on a steep incline today, so it's drifting away all the time. This is why this method's really good, because you can get away with it. You can fish in a little bit deeper water down the shelf. So we've got a little bit shorter piece of line to keep it intact where we need it to be. F1 maggot 4x10, nice light float. That's just move that back up there. So we've got a little trimmer under the float, and the shotting pattern is dead simple. It's just a little strung bulk of number 11s and then a 4-inch hook length of 0.13 and a 16 GPM. Now I feel like it's important to step up now, because you are going to start hooking odd carp, you are going to start catching a lot more fish. So I've just stepped my hook size up, stepped my hook length up as well, so it's dead simple. Now I'm not fishing very far out today. I'm fishing literally holding my short 3 and my number 4 section. You don't need to go far out. This is the beauty of this sort of tactic. You can just fish it dead close to you, throw a few maggots in, and when we get on the box, I'll show you where we're going to look to be fishing. So we've just got some maggots there. We're going to look to be fishing there, dead close to ourselves, but a little bit off the bank. But you can put a load of fish in your net. So enough of waffling on. Let's get on the box and catch some fish. Now, as I mentioned, I'm going to be fishing just off the bank. So what I'm going to do is just plumb up to show you whereabouts I'm fishing and why I've chose to pick there. So you've got to imagine it like a little ski ramp. That's what it's going to be like, the edge. Now tight to the edge, obviously it's going to be a little bit shallow, but then it obviously drifts off into the lake. So like I said before, literally holding on to my number 3 there. Now what I'm trying to look to do is find where the shelf comes up. So I'm going to start there, see it's bit too deep, and that's what I'm looking for. Where I've plumbed up there, that's where it starts to drop off there. So I've got like a nice little, like a flattish area where I can throw my maggots on. So that little, on that corner of that post there, that's where I'm going to fish. Make sure I'm nice and accurate and throw some maggots on. Now the beauty of this is, if I feel like I need to throw some maggots further down the shelf to get less fish coming in the peg, if I get too many fish coming in, I can literally throw some maggots here, then I've got a little kinder pot which I can put on to try and catch some. So enough of waffling, let's get stuck into some fishing. So dead simple, there's 2 or 3 maggots on the hook. This time I'm just going to put literally 2 maggots on my hook, and I'm going to go in throwing first. I'm not going to pot anything because I don't want to keep it too tight. So literally going to lay my rig in. Now I'm always going to look to throw my maggots the right hand side of my float. I don't want too many going up that shelf because I don't want too many fish going past it straight away. That's the thing, I've been priming this, so it will be solid, and we are sat on the lake by ourselves, but you'll see there's some fantastic fish in here, but it's deadly. But there's a few little key aspects of what this sort of fishing, it's quite quirky for sort of venues, but this time of year, look at that one. This time of year, Lovely F1. That one. It's deadly tactic. I've used it all over the country. I've used it up at Westwood Lakes. I've used it Boldings Pools. I've used it at Tunnel Barn. Places like that. Throwing maggots in the edge. It's a great way of catching them. Now, just burst that maggot. And 2 maggots. Said before, if it gets a bit hectic and you feel like you need to just throw further down the shelf, you can. So throw that in there. Like I said before, always trying to throw just to the right hand side of my float. And see how important that shorter piece of line is now. It keeps me in contact with my float. Last thing I want, see, there's some fish coming. So instead of laying it in, I'm just going to drop it straight down, try and get it to where them fish are. Now, why this method can be really good is you find the water's quite clear at this time of year still. So it's not going to be as, the fish aren't going to be as confident as they are in the summer months coming into that shallow water tight to the bank. So what you find is just throwing a bit off the bank, you gather more fish. Because you're loose feeding, you're attracting fish all the time in, but that's why it's important not to fish too far. If I was to fish an extra section there, what you can find is the fish can come off the bottom and give you liners and foul hookers. You've seen there, we just had that little spell. That's a lovely bite, that one. That little spell then, where we just foul hooked a few with too many fish in the peg, so we've got to be careful how we feed now. But you can't beat just throwing some maggots in. Nice light rig. Nice light. Oh, it's a blondie one, that one. Look at that one. Nice blondie F1. These are great fish, these. Try and get him there. Quite lively. Lovely blondie one. He doesn't want to stay still for a little thing. There we go. Lovely little fish. Quite lively still. Put him back. So you've got to be careful and wary of how you're feeding. So I'll put 3 maggots on this time. See what. 2 whites and a red. See what happens with that. So instead of laying my rig out, because there might be a few fish there, I'm just going to grab hold of my rig, hold it still. I'm going to feed just to the right of it again. 15 twice. Keep everything still. So one thing I can do, if you feel like you've got fish all around your float, because of the depth, you're going to be busy around your float. So what great little way of doing it is sending the fish down the shelf. So what I mean by that is throwing good foot away from where my float is. I'm not going to do it yet. I'll do it when if I hook a fish in a minute. Sending, so that, see there now, so I'm going to chuck a little bit further away from the float, just so it gathers them fish in that area. But when I come to my little spot now, there's not going to be loads and loads of fish on my spot. This is when the fishing's really good. Not going to be hundreds of fish sat on my spot, and then I can just draw a few up and get a clean indication, hopefully. Look at that one, that's a brilliant one again. Like a ghosty one, ghosty mirror one. Lovely that. So we did some filming for Preston. It's been mega fishing, but just thought, you know what, trying to get some maggots out. 2 maggots. Keep everything in line. Drop that float in. Now what I'm going to do is just turn around my float twice. Hopefully any fish that are up that shelf, down that shelf, are going to linger up and we'll just get a nice clean bite. I feel like that was in the mouth, that one. No, I thought not. Wasn't really a nice indication. I shouldn't have struck at that one. Now any fish that are down that shelf are going to be lingering down that shelf, so all I want to do is chuck like 10 in twice, just next to nothing, try and draw them fish up around my float. So not creating loads of bait around my float, just literally dropping it in. Now don't get me wrong, because we are pleasure fishing with no nets in and there's not much angling pressure on the lake, it's not going to be as solid as this all the time. So you might have to throw around your float a lot of it, but I'll demonstrate how, if you are getting them problems when there's fish around your float, see there, it's much slower now. It's not as dancing around, it's not as stupid and hectic like it was before. You can get a bit giddy when you start catching fish. You can literally throw loads of bait in. That's perfect, that one. So a little bit, I didn't go as far that time, just a little nice group of maggots just going in. Look at that. Lovely. Nicely hooked. So you don't have to feed loads and loads of bait all the time, just nice little bits regular. Catching off the bank. So when my rig's going in, I'm just going to chuck 10 in twice, calm it down a little bit. Keep that back shot nice and still. Just waiting for that sharp little indication, that little dink. Now I will feed quite regular on this, when I feel like I need to. I'm not just going to sit there and be patient and wait for one to find it. I will just keep chucking 8 to 10 maggots in. Like you said, down that slope slightly, but you see how much better there it is just by changing the feeding pattern. Just perfect. Minute or so. Take your time. Feels like a good fish, this one. Feels a good fish. 3-1. That's what I mean, we got 9's hollow elastic on, but we can land anything from smaller F1s, even some skimmers, even some hide. In fact, you've got a venue near you with some hide, but there's none in here today. Well, I haven't caught any. Just had some nice F1s. We had a couple of carp as well, but I don't feel like they're sunbathing at the minute, so look at that F1. That's a belter. Look at that one. Lovely plump F1. So I'll have a couple more. So it's just about keeping busy. You can see how fast and active it can be when you are catching them. But the little things like, if you've got a few fish in your peg, the last thing you want to do is flick your rig out, because you're going to obviously give yourself the chance of putting it over the fish's back. But so dropping it straight down where the fish are is ideal. But if it's a little bit harder and you feel like you need to try and maybe catch a fish on the drop, or try and flick your rig in that way, or a little bit steeper, you can do. So it's nice this time of year now. You don't have to go too far. Literally chucking a few maggots in, catching a load of F1s. Nice positive indications when you get one as well. So now I'm not going to mess around, just literally chuck 10 in twice. Not too many around my float. I feel like just hold that on, see if we can get a bite on the drop. You'd be surprised how many times this was just literally, it's about to hit the bottom now. and goes like that. That's like comical. As soon as your rig straightens up and you just, that hook length just falls, that little bit, that 4-inch hook length just falling, boom. How many times I've seen that with F1 fishing is untrue. So sometimes you just got to vary it up. Sometimes lay it in, sometimes drop it in, depending on how many fish are in your peg. That's the beauty of F1 fishing. It's a big F1 that as well. Because you catch so many fish, it's not like carp fishing where you have to do a certain thing and it's like 10 fish. You're catching a lot of fish. So you need to vary it up depending on how many fish in your peg. That's a lovely F1, that one. That's a beautiful fish. I think I've said that about 30 times today. Every time I've caught a nice F1, there's some brilliant fish in here. So what we'll do is we'll just catch one more and then we'll end it, because I'm having a great day. I'm going to put 3 on this time. Three big lanes red maggots so I can hook them properly. 3 big lanes on. I'm just going to drop it in from there. 10 maggots twice. Nice big hook bait on the bottom there. So we've seen the rig, nice 4x10s rig, 9 hollow elastic, GPM 16, cut down to 4 inches. Nice simple shotting pattern. It's just important, don't go too far, and just be mindful of what's in your peg and how you're going to feed to catch them. It's not all about just chucking 30 in loads all the time. So a lot of these commercial venues, you don't have to go too far. A gudgeon, got one in the app. Big 3 maggots on. Lay that rig in. So I'm just going to feed again all the time, trying to track some fish in the peg. Just going to take a maggot off, just because I feel like I might get one on the drop. Put 2 reds on again. Keep feeding. Just next to nothing, 10s twice. Don't get too mad. Don't want loads and loads of fish in your peg. You just want enough to try and catch them. There you go. Perfect. He's running off him. He'll come back. The beauty of this elastic, just flies out your pole. Use a side puller. And coax him back. Just nice to catch some fish. Really close tactics in the edge, but if you go to an F1 venue and you feel like you're struggling to catch them in the edge, just let's fish a little bit further away off the bank. Use the tactics I've shown you today, you can catch a load of fish. So I'm going to slip him back, have a few more, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you for watching, guys. If you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe and turn on that notification so you don't miss any future videos.